Shame! Shame! Why I do not understand why you would relegate this committee to no longer being of significance and resort to saying you will do whatever Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell you to do. Where's the independence of the committee? Where's the legislature? We're an equal branch of government, and yet look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what he intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night. People are aware of this. Every single one of your districts, ask that, Mr. Smith, of the more than 198,000 people in your district who rely on Social Security, and you won't even let the person who's planning to privatize it, who's telling the big lie in front of everyone, bold as he possibly can, saying, this is what we're going to do. The Congress is in our back pocket. We don't even have to come before them and testify because we control the House, we control the Senate, and we control the presidency. The executive branch does not have total authority over the legislature unless you have a willing party that says, no, we're going to do exactly what you tell us to do, Mr. Musk and Mr. President. It doesn't matter to our constituents. It doesn't matter how much money they are not going to receive. We're not even going to tell them the truth. Shame! Shame! Can't bring people in front of this body. If he's right, if they're so good, if they're so just, why aren't they here telling the American people about it?
Yeah, welcome and welcome again to Willy's Docu Stories, and I hope you're doing great. I myself am doing good, and today is another episode. And without wasting a lot of time here, and I think something big is brewing in Central Africa, and it just got international. Russia and the BRICS alliance have fired off a very powerful warning to Rwanda. Back off from the DRC or face serious consequences. What does this mean for the region? And could this spark a global diplomatic shutdown? Let's break it down in the following videos, then we'll meet after the video so that we can talk about it and give our comments about it. Keep in touch, brothers.
Mr. President, thank you for the floor. Members of the Council, first of all, I would like to note that for the first time in our meetings, Rwanda did extend condolences for the fallen peacekeepers. However, I would like to rectify something. The peacekeepers did not die in a process. The peacekeepers were killed. Second of all, SADC forces deployment through SAMI DRC were not deployed unilaterally by the DRC, but rather with a mandate from the AU, an organization Rwanda is a part of, even if its behavior in the DRC clearly flaunts its principles. Third, the M23 excluded itself from the Nairobi process by renewing attacks against the FARDC. The government of the DRC has nonetheless expressed its willingness to re-include the M23 in the Nairobi process. We reject Rwanda's obsession and attempts to elevate the M23 to the level of an interlocutor deemed fit to sit at the same table as a legitimate government. 30 years down the line, we have never stooped to the level of expecting and demanding from Rwanda to talk to its brothers and sisters, the FDLR, who are still in our country. We have not stooped to that level. Fourth, on regime change, we will remind the Rwandan delegation that the M23 and the AFC has repeatedly expressed its intent to march in Kinshasa. The very M23 Rwanda forces are backing right now. There is a subtlety that should not go amiss between words and actions. Rwanda's actions, side by side with the M23, are actions seeking to overthrow a legitimately established government. On the Luanda and Nairobi processes, we will remind the Rwandan representative that the DRC never left the negotiating table. It was Rwanda that did not show up on the 15th. It was Rwanda that did not come when President Lorenzo invited us. And President Kenyatta was also present. President Tshisekedi honored his commitment. In the past weeks, we have seen efforts, calls from this council, from our partners, from our friends, urging us all to renew our efforts within the Luanda process. The DRC never left the table. It is up to Rwanda to come back to the table. I would also like to remind the Council that in this very session, the government of the DRC, through my own statement, condemned all attacks against diplomatic missions in the DRC. We do this in our concern to abide by and respect international law. However, we have yet to hear Rwanda explain to us what its efforts have been to abide by international law and to respond to the violations it has been found guilty of in the DRC. Violations of the Charter, violations of international humanitarian law, violations of international human rights law. Members of the Council, I would like to close with what has brought us back here in less than 48 hours. Rwanda's outright contempt for this Council and its declaration that it will not, for the Council and the Council's declaration, and its demonstration that it is in the deluded belief that there is a Rwandan exception when it comes to international law. But what has also brought us here is the Council's choice 2 days ago to opt for words and not for actions. This Council is not unable to take actions. In fact, it is uniquely equipped to take actions. Hence, the question that remains at the end of this meeting is whether this Council is unwilling to act. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency Ms. Kayikwamba Wagner for her statement. And I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Господин председатель,
Mr. President,
благодарим
we'd
заместителя
like to thank the
спецпредставителя
Deputy
Генерального
Special
секретаря
Representative of the
Vivian
Secretary General,
van der
Vivian
Perre
van der Perre, for her briefing.
Приветствуем участие
We
в заседании
welcome
министра
to
иностранных
the
дел
meeting the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Teresa Banga, and the
остальных стран,
representative of
запросивших
the
по правилам
other countries who've requested the floor under Rule 37.
Уважаемые коллеги, 2
Distinguished
дня назад
colleagues,
мы
2
встречались в
days
этом
ago
зале
we met
и
in this chamber
обсуждали
and discussed
тревожное
the
развитие
worrisome
ситуации на востоке
developments in the
этой страны.
situation in the eastern
Последние
DRC.
48
Over the
часов она
past 48
стремительно
hours,
деградировала,
the
особенно в
situation has
связи с
significantly
захватом города,
deteriorated,
где
especially with the
находится
seizure
свыше
of
миллиона
Doma,
гражданских.
where there are more than 1 million civilians
Россия
located.
решительно
Russia
осуждает
firmly
действия
condemns the
группировки
actions
М-23.
of M23.
Мы призываем к
We call
немедленной
for
остановке
a swift cessation
боестолкновений
of
и выводу
hostilities
бойцов этого
and a
незаконного
withdrawal of the rebels, of the illegal armed formation from the towns, villages and territory they've seized. We also urge external forces to cease their support for M23 and to recall their military units. There's a need without delay to resume the negotiation process in Luanda. We must not allow a spillover of the escalation which could threaten the lives of people on both sides of the border and is likely to turn into an interstate conflict on a regional scale. We are seriously concerned by the humanitarian repercussions of what's going on. In front of our very eyes, the already difficult situation in North Kivu is turning into an utter humanitarian disaster. Goma de facto is cut off from the outside world. This may have serious consequences for the inhabitants of the town and the IDPs who have fled there. Once again, we would like to express our condolences to the families of the civilian victims of the DRC, the UN peacekeepers, and the fallen SADC soldiers. We stand in solidarity with the governments of the DRC and those states who've lost their service personnel. We wish their speedy recovery. We'd like to underscore that Russia unequivocally condemns the attacks on peacekeepers. It's absolutely unacceptable. We firmly support the UN peacekeeping mission in the stabilization mission in the DRC, its leadership and the Blue Helmets. We also condemn any attacks and acts of aggression regarding international diplomatic representation. Such actions have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with peaceful demonstrations. We urge Kinshasa to ensure the protection of foreign missions and diplomatic staff, pursuant to the Vienna Convention and its international obligations. The violence in eastern DRC needs to stop. However, there's no military path to resolve this crisis. It is absolutely clear that this is only possible as a result of political agreements. We're convinced that the Luanda process remains the best forum where agreements can be reached. We carefully listened to the representative of Angola during the meeting of the Council on Sunday. Angola clearly stated that the only obstacle to preventing a signature of a reconciliation document between Kinshasa and Kigali was the issue of cessation of government interaction with the illegal armed formations, and primarily with the M23. Without settling the status of this group as part of the intra-Congolese dialogue, any attempts to improve the situation between the DRC and Rwanda will not bear lasting fruit. Here, there is an urgent need for the resumption of the Nairobi process and the pushing forward of similar regional initiatives. There's no alternative to this. Mr. President, attempts to settle the crisis will also not bear fruit if the countries of the Great Lakes region do not take decisive measures to combat the illegal exploitation and smuggling of natural resources, the lion's share of which, as we all know, come from the eastern DRC, which is beset by instability. There's a need for extra-regional players and large transnational corporations to review their relationship with the use of these resources, because in their interest there's this ongoing illegal supply of blood minerals. These states have all instruments available to them to stop the hot phase, so to speak, of the conflict and to exert pressure on the parties so they return to negotiations. They must be harnessed to protect people's lives and to stop the suffering of hundreds of thousands of civilians. Unfortunately, we've all seen that the statement of the Council has not stopped the M23, and those who support this group from seizing Goma and continuing their hostilities. Russia, from its side, will do everything possible, including through here in the Council, to stop the escalation and to restore prospects for diplomatic settlement in the interest of stabilizing the situation in the eastern DRC. Thank you very much indeed.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement.
Yeah, welcome back again to Willy Doki Stories, and I hope you have watched that video. And it's very sad. Reports are flying in that BRICS, yes, the global powerhouse made up of Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa, has taken a hardline stance against Rwanda's alleged involvement in the Eastern Congo and leading the change, Russia. They've made it crystal clear. If Rwanda continues supporting the rebel activity in the DRC, particularly the M23 group, there will be a very serious repercussions. Rwanda denies that the accusation, but international pressure is rising. And this is no longer just a local conflict. It's turning into a global flashpoint. This move marks a shift in BRICS' role in the world stage. No longer just an economic alliance, they are now playing peacekeeper and enforcer in African conflicts. But here's the twist. This warning could also be a warning to the West, showing that BRICS is really to step in where others hesitate. So, what happens if Rwanda doesn't back down? We're talking potential economic isolation, loss of strategic partnership, or worse, military escalation. Will this warning call cool things down or hit them even more? Is BRICS generally stepping into to defend peace, or is it a new kind of global chess game? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you find this eye-opening, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and tap that bell so that you don't miss what's coming next. I'll be following up this story closely, and trust me, you won't want to miss the next episode. Thank you.